Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you, Shuchi. You're the only one. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
So I want to welcome to the stage Eloise Geddes from Love Matters, Shuchi, you know her,
Nothing matters.
and Lily from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They each get 5 minutes.
So I wanted to, in the morning there was a really cool presentation by Esther. I'm not sure if she's still here. Hi. Sorry. So I come from a cultural sociology background, so I found it really interesting. Just to recap, you were saying how we should look at the deeper issues of like power, maintaining status quo when we're looking at different cultures and how we can build and create a sustainable CSE. I hope that's kind of correct what you're trying to say. Also, implementation with Chandra. He was talking about backlash, and there will always be backlash when you try to bring in something different, and how to go about that and think about it at the beginning. Say, yes, there will be backlash. How do we educate people on how to go about dealing with all of this stuff when the backlash happens? I thought that was really interesting. I got to do 2 sessions, Dance for Life and Love Matters. Dance for Life was a really cool session. Sorry I forgot your name, but it was really awesome.
Nina.
And we were able to do an activity which was really actually interesting, to be in the shoes of the youth that actually do these activities. And it was quite emotional actually to see how it feels to be in their shoes, sort of thing. And another thing, Love Matters talked about porn, which is really fun, and how we moderate online, because we're an online organization. And with the porn, we were looking at how porn can be an ally in sexual education, because in a lot of the countries, that's where they're getting a lot of their education, their sexual education. So how can we ally with porn? And yeah, I think that's all. That was fun.
The first one is from what just spoken about, but this sentence that stuck in my mind, that how the next generation move for CSE should be context-aware and knowledge-based approach, which means the context of cultures, and that has to be brought back, and how we have to understand, and from that understanding you then approach how to adapt. So that is very important. What I took from Dr. Chandramuli's one was very important is the protocol of resisting resistance. So that you are prepared. You know what will happen. You preempt. It's a bit like George Bush kind of a thing, but you know what to expect and you prepare. There's nothing more effective than preparedness when you know, oh, this is debatable, this is a controversial, and you're on the right path and you have to battle it out. Also came out very important and close to my heart is bring knowledge of sophisticated sociological anthropological studies to implementation design. Meaning that you cannot just wait for knowledge to be produced in isolation and silo, but you already have your own idea of how to design a program like CSE, but they have to be matched and they have to complement each other, especially the implementation design has to be this kind of knowledge, evidence-based and fed by that. So that was important, and create local, national discourse. Which are done through research and advocacy. And I think it's very important because we talked a lot about the language of CSE and how it is ineffective most of the times because it is not produced from that local knowledge and we don't have a discourse of it. Building a discourse in a particular context is very important, and therefore you have, I think, academicians and researchers as important allies and elements in this designing of program. In the afternoon onwards, then I was in 2 sessions. One was for Dance for Life, and this one was particularly of interest because we brought back the, our favorite topic of the week, peer educators. And you know, we were like, no, we're also good. But what came out in the end, when we did what, you know, what is good, the strength and the weakness, we did exercise the strength and weakness. And if you look at the weakness part, it was actually a structural problem. It was not what promise this particular tool has, but how the system, the mechanism has failed it in understanding, supporting, and strengthening it. So the weakness was not the principle of peer education, but the application of it to make it actually doable, and outcome has to be reorganized and re-articulated, which again has to be youth voice-based. And then what the afternoon ended with men, which is really sweet. We had the masculinities and gender transformative approach to CSE, and we realized that we all had really bad, crappy sex education or nothing, and we have been traumatized by that, and that men are actually good, species, and they are workable, and it is very important that we start loving them back and not be exclusive in thinking it is only girls and women and victim versus perpetrator, and also seeing that their lives matter too.
I cannot top that. I will just try to humbly contribute. 4 points that struck me, and a humble effort, a pledge to try and do something about them. First of all, I want to recognize Yvonne and your story and the story of your friend, which really touched me. Whenever we are, I'm in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, we're in negotiations, naysayers, very difficult, and you get frustrated. Your friends and your story is why we are there, why we go out and be in environments that are often so difficult all of the time. So this is why I am here. That's number one. Secondly, Anselm's testimony about resilience, I think, is how I would summarize it. With adjusting strategy, also what you mentioned, Shushi, about preparedness for naysayers and backlash, taking contents of CSE as the tool, but also balancing how your CSE program had been really rooted in Uganda, but also how an external party like the Dutch embassy could help facilitate and sort of the balance between that. And I think that, I felt that also links to Shushi, your point that you made on Monday about accountability. If people get in trouble because of this work, who really is accountable? Is the donor accountable? What does this mean? This, I will bring this back in my own ministry discussions. Thirdly, Christina, who spoke in the workshop on CSE for early adolescents about CSE in fragile context, which I actually did not know, where that education is very well received, where she felt there is an eagerness in the settings that she explained about for this information. And this I'm looking forward to using in discussions in New York and Geneva with people who say, SRHR doesn't belong, debates about humanitarian emergencies, fragile states. So thank you for helping me with that argument. Fourthly, a very interesting session that we just had with young researchers, and on the one hand, questions came up about what really is agency and what really is forced marriage. And I think it was Kristen who said, why is child marriage such an issue now? Is there perhaps an issue of some melancholy about what marriage used to stand for? Is that in a changing environment, is that what we are actually searching for? So that very conceptual discussion balanced with very hard facts of suffering. Antoinette mentioning in our group about firstborns to very young brides, very young mothers, and very severe handicapped, severely handicapped children. All of these, you know, as a diplomat, I have to come out. I'm an opportunistic person. I will use every argument that I can to try and further the end result, which I think we share: happy, healthy, empowered, and resilient young persons. Thank you.